Hey. I'd like to welcome you back to the podcast. Where you at? I'm your number one host, Will J. Bailey. Thank you for joining us again. At what age does a child notice a parent's narcissistic personality? Early childhood, ages 5 through 8, where children may notice a parent is unloving, abusive, or creates immense fear, realizing that the parent is not acting the way other parents often do. Late childhood, preteen, ages 9 through 12. As they develop more advanced social awareness, they may notice the selfishness or fake persona or unfair treatment from the parent. Teenage years, ages 12 through 14. Many children begin to recognize that the parent's verbal and emotional abuse combined with rapid shifts from rage to normalcy is not typical, often marking this as the period they realize the behavior is abnormal. And the child may tend to point it out, sometimes disrespectfully, and then that changes the narratives and make the disrespect the top of a conversation, never getting back to the actual problem or the issue that the child noticed and pointed out. Adulthood, age 20 through 50s. Often, full understanding of the parent as a narcissist is only reached in adulthood after learning about the term, connecting behavioral patterns, and finding validation from others, with some realizing in their 20s or even as late as their 50s. Now, keep in mind, each child's experience is unique, often dictated by whether they are treated as the golden child or the scapegoat. A parent with narcissistic personality traits often creates a deeply dysfunctional family system where children are assigned rigid roles, most notably the golden child and the scapegoat, to serve the parent's emotional needs for admiration and to project their own failings. These roles create vastly different yet equally damaging childhood experiences and long-term psychological impacts, often resulting in complex trauma for the child. The golden child is a term chosen to represent the parent's idealized superior self-image, acting as an extension of the parent's ego. That experience is showered with praise, adoration, and privileges, but this love is conditional on strict obedience and high achievement, also used to show favoritism in comparison to the other child. The wound is enmeshment, which is lack of boundaries, or identity diffusion, not knowing who they are outside of the parent, and pressure to be perfect for the child. The long-term effects is extreme pressure, fear of failing the parent, and potential development of their own narcissistic traits. The relationship with the scapegoat is often pitted against the scapegoat, becoming a flying monkey or enforcer for the narcissistic parent, sometimes turning on their own siblings to please the parent. The scapegoat is designated to absorb the parent's disowned shame, inadequacy, and rage. The experience is consistently blamed for family problems, devalued, and treated as bad, defective, or not enough, regardless of their actual actions in the situations. The wound is intense feelings of unworthiness, shame, depression, and trauma from consistent invalidation. The long-term effects is lowered self-esteem, potential for developing PTSD, and struggle to trust others. However, they are often realized the system is dysfunctional sooner and seek independence earlier. The relationship with the golden child is often experiencing jealousy and resentment from the favored sibling, leading to deep long-term sibling conflict. The key differences are the treatment is the golden child can do no wrong, the scapegoat can do no right. The reality, the narcissistic distorts reality so the golden child thinks the parent is perfect while the scapegoat is blamed for all negativity. Independence. Golden children may struggle to leave or become independent, while scapegoats often escape early to survive. The long-term reality. Both children often suffer from anxiety, depression, poor boundaries, and a broken sense of self in adulthood. Healing requires recognizing the unfair split roles and deconstructing the false narratives that the parent has installed. Set firm boundaries, which is limit time with the narcissistic parent, their enabling followers, whomever that may be included. Conduct low or no contact with them. Break the narrative. Stop waiting for validation or recognition of the truth from the narcissistic parent. It may never come. So, you must validate your own experiences. Reparent yourself. Cultivate self-compassion and develop your own identity, goals, and values separate from the family's toxic expectations. Seek specialized therapy. So find a therapist who specializes in narcissistic abuse, recovery, and understands family systems. Question: what if the parent refuses to go to therapy? It is highly common for a parent with a narcissistic personality to refuse therapy, as they often do not believe they have a problem and see no need to change. When a parent refuses, you must shift your focus from fixing them to protecting yourself, accepting that your recovery is an inside job that can continue without their participation. Here are actionable steps to take when a narcissistic parent refuses therapy. Proceed alone. You can still go to therapy on your own to heal from trauma and deal with the fallout of the behavior. Process emotionally. Work with a specialist to process anger, guilt, and the sadness of not having the parent you deserve. Let go of the fix-it hope. Accept that you cannot change, control, or rescue your parent, which brings a profound sense of freedom. Define your limits. Clearly state what behaviors you will no longer tolerate, i.e., yelling, gaslighting, insulting, gossiping, etc. Enforce consequences. Yes, you, the child. By setting boundaries without a consequence is meaningless to a narcissist. So, for instance, if they begin yelling during a phone call or something like that, you need to calmly say, I am about to hang up now. I do not tolerate you yelling at me. And do exactly that. End of story. Use the Grok method. Make yourself uninteresting to them by being unreactive and uninteresting, like a Grok, to avoid feeding their need for drama. Go low contact. Drastically reduce the amount of time you spend with the parent to protect your mental health. Go no contact. If the behavior is abusive, harmful, or dangerous, cutting all contact may be necessary for your safety and healing, and by any means, for your violent responses to a parent. Control the environment. Meet in public spaces where they are less likely to act out, or limit conversations to low stakes topics. Seek validation. Connect with friends, support groups, or therapists who understand narcissistic abuse, as your parent may feel you are crazy or invalid, or they may intentionally try to make you feel you are crazy or invalid. Identify enabling family. Be aware of who enables the behavior and protect your energy from them as well. So whoever has a need to support or ignore or, again, enable the behavior of the parent, protect your energy from them as well. Educate yourself. Study the disorder. Understanding that their behavior stems from a personality disorder can help you stop taking their nastiest attacks personally, and also gives you a better understanding of accepting you're not the problem. Understand the lack of change. Recognize that a lack of self-reflection means they are unlikely to change, regardless of how much you try. This information is for educational purposes based on research, not a substitute for professional mental health advice. Please seek a qualified, trauma-informed legal therapist. We understand that a mother serves as the primary parent to a child for many reasons. It is just as importantly understood that Every child deserves to have their father in their lives as well. According to our studies, when an undiagnosed narcissistic mother refuses therapy, the dysfunction typically escalates, forcing adult children to face a watershed moment regarding their relationship. Because narcissists often believe their problems are caused by everyone else, they tend to view therapy as a threat to their ego rather than a solution. Here's what generally happens after an undiagnosed narcissistic mother refuses to seek help: the escalation of dysfunctional behaviors, blame shifting, and victimhood. Without therapy to provide perspective, the mother will likely double down on her role as the victim or martyr. She will often blame her child's unfair attacks for any family dysfunctions whenever they are calling the mother out. Increase emotional manipulation. When ignored or confronted with boundaries, a narcissistic mother may increase rather than decrease manipulative behavior to regain control and assert authority. Mask maintenance. She will likely refuse to acknowledge any flaws, as her perfectionism requires the illusion that she is a perfect parent, which leaves no room for change. Or the distorted version of that, which she will admit that she's not perfect, but she would never point out her flaws or accept them accountably. Impact on family dynamics, triangulation, and smear campaigns. She may attempt to bribe siblings or extended family with favors to maintain a loyal support system and turn them against the child who suggested the therapy. Silent treatment. She may use the silent treatment as a tool of control, with the length of these treatments increasing over time. Reaching the breaking point. Adult children often reach a point of no contact or low contact because they realize the mother is incapable of changing. Forced boundary setting. Because she will not seek help, the onus falls on the child to create rigid boundaries, such as limiting phone calls, ending conversations immediately when abuse begins, or forbidding certain topics. Modified contact. If full no contact is not immediately possible due to shared care or financial constraints, a highly structured modified contact plan becomes necessary to reduce harm. For long-term outcomes, entrenchment of habits. The mother's traits, lack of empathy, need for admiration, and entitlement tend to become more rigid and pronounced as they age. You may even hear them more rigidly and more specifically start to speak in disregard to the child in front of others. Child self-healing. The child is forced to focus on their own healing, which often involves therapy for themselves to process deep feelings of neglect, guilt, and the complex trauma, CPTSD, resulting from the upbringing. What to do when she refuses? Accept reality. Accept that she is unlikely to change and cease trying to love her into being different immediately. Manage your expectations. Adjust your expectations to match her reality rather than the parent you wish you were. Prioritize your health. Protect your own mental health through emotional detachment and firm boundaries. How do you conceive a narcissistic mother that sharing your testimony doesn't mean you don't love her? Be consistent in honoring her despite the boundaries and or no contact in the relationship. This is the part you are responsible for. Remember, scripture says in Ephesians 6:2-3, honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy a long life on earth. However, you must share your story to help anyone else who may be suffering and damaged from such an experience as this one, as well as releasing yourself. I am your number one host, Will J. Bailey, and this is where I'm at. I hope you enjoyed this testimony. God bless. Yes, indeed, most. Peace.